This content is produced by Pass the CSLB, an independent audio-first study companion for busy California B General candidates. I build these lessons from official CSLB study guide topics and reputable source-backed California materials so you can study on the go. This is exam prep reinforcement, not legal, professional, engineering, or OB-specific advice. Exam content is set by PSI and the CSLB and may change, so always verify current requirements against official CSLB materials. No exam outcome is guaranteed. Now let's get into it. The most important boundary in specialty concrete work is simple. The general B contractor is the coordinator of the operation, not automatically the specialist who may take or perform every isolated concrete scope. I want you to separate three questions that are easy to blur together. Who may hold the contract? Who is qualified and licensed to perform the specialty work? Who must coordinate inspection, sequencing, and safety? Those questions can point to different people on the same project. A clean way to remember the general B role is conductor, not soloist. A conductor can control the timing of an entire orchestra, but that does not make the conductor the featured cellist for a cello-only performance. In the same way, the general B classification is built around coordinating a project that involves multiple unrelated trades. A standalone specialty scope is a different licensing question. Suppose an owner asks for a separate concrete driveway and nothing else. No plumbing work, no electrical work, and no second unrelated trade. That is a single specialty trade scope. A general B contractor who does not also hold the appropriate concrete specialty classification cannot treat the word general as permission to self-perform the entire isolated concrete contract. The compliant boundary identified in the source material is to hold the appropriate specialty classification, or subcontract, the specialty work to the appropriately licensed contractor. The comparison on screen reduces the licensing decision to three common scope patterns. A concrete-only contract is one specialty trade. Concrete plus framing does not create the required pair of unrelated trades because framing or carpentry is excluded from that calculation. A project that genuinely requires at least two unrelated trades outside that framing exception fits the multi-trade character of the general B classification. That framing point deserves special attention because it is a classic near miss. Imagine a contract that contains concrete work and framing work only. It feels like two trades in ordinary job site language. But the licensing rule does not let framing or carpentry count as one of the two unrelated trades used to establish the general B contracting basis. The mistake is not mathematical. The mistake is counting a trade that the statute tells you to leave out. I want you to use a three-step check before accepting a concrete-related scope. First, identify the actual trades required by the contract, not the trades that might appear later. Second, remove framing and carpentry from the two-trade calculation. Third, decide whether the remaining scope is a lawful, multi-trade general B project or an isolated specialty project that requires the matching specialty license or a properly licensed subcontractor. This is a testable concept based on the published CSLB study outline because it connects scope of work, code compliance, and project coordination. It is also a practical business boundary. A superintendent can coordinate the schedule perfectly and still begin from the wrong legal position if the contract itself exceeds the classification. Shotcrete creates a different kind of boundary. The general B contractor does not need to become the nozzleman to supervise the work well. The supervisory responsibility is to recognize that shotcrete quality is created during placement and can become concealed almost immediately. Conventional cast-in-place concrete is placed into forms. Gravity and mechanical vibration can help consolidate the material around reinforcing steel. Shotcrete is pneumatically projected onto the receiving surface. Its consolidation depends heavily on the impact, velocity, and the spray angle at the moment of placement. That changes what the superintendent must protect in the schedule. If the spray angle is poor around congested reinforcing steel, material can bridge across the face of the bars and leave hidden voids behind them. The source material describes that condition as shadowing. If the material reaches the surface with inadequate, useful velocity, compaction can suffer and rebound can increase. The visible face can look finished, while the concealed condition behind the reinforcement is not sound. That is the central why in this episode. Shotcrete cannot be supervised, as though quality can be reconstructed later from a finished surface. The application itself is the event that must be observed. The California Building Code requirement identified in the research is continuous special inspection during shotcrete placement. Continuous means the special inspector is present for the placement operation, not merely available somewhere on the project, and not arriving after the wall is already covered. The Shotcrete reference table contrasts the field conditions that matter. The nozzleman controls the live angle and distance. The material is consolidated by impact. Reinforcing steel becomes concealed as thickness builds. Because the critical workmanship is happening in real time, the inspection must follow the operation in real time. For the General B superintendent, the practical sequence begins before the hose is pressurized. I would verify that the required special inspector is scheduled and physically present. I would verify that the person assigned as nozzleman has the required qualification for the work. I would confirm that the approved plans, placement area, reinforcement, access, and inspection coordination are ready before production begins. The lesson boundary is supervision and readiness, not teaching specialty hose technique. Consider a hypothetical project where the pump crew arrives before the special inspector. The crew wants to start on a small section to save time. That shortcut creates an immediate conflict. The work requiring continuous observation begins without the required observer. As the shotcrete covers the reinforcement, the key application conditions become concealed. The likely result is not a harmless paperwork correction. The authority having jurisdiction may require additional verification, removal, testing, or other corrective action, depending on the circumstances. The correct supervisory choice is to stop the placement until the required inspection coverage is in place. That decision protects more than the inspection card. It protects the ability to demonstrate that the application techniques were observed while they could still be evaluated. The source report also identifies a minimum specified compressive strength of 3,000 pounds per square inch for shotcrete. I want you to remember that number as a verified baseline from the research, while still reading the approved project documents for the actual work. The General B task is not to redesign the mix. It is to coordinate the specified material, qualified people, inspection presence, and documented placement event. Masonry grout has another quality control boundary. The issue is not whether grout merely arrives on site. The issue is whether sampling follows every trigger identified by the California Building Code. The research gives 3 triggers. Grout is sampled for each distinct mix design. It is sampled for each day grout is placed. It is also sampled at a frequency of not less than once for every 5,000 square feet of masonry wall area. The sampling checklist on screen shows that these triggers work together. A contractor should not select only the easiest one. A new mix design triggers sampling. A new placement day triggers sampling. Wall area creates an additional minimum frequency. The General B superintendent coordinates the testing agency and the placement schedule so the sample is taken when the grout is actually available. Imagine a masonry operation using one mix design across several placement days. A sample taken on the first day does not erase the daily trigger for later days. Now imagine a very large wall placement completed in one day. The fact that it happened on one day does not erase the wall area frequency. Each trigger must be respected. A useful memory connection is mix, day, area. Mix tells you what material is being used. Day tells you when placement occurs. Area tells you how much wall work the sampling represents. I do not need a long mnemonic for this. I only need those 3 words in the correct order. Mix, day, area. This is also where coordination matters more than last-minute reaction. If the testing agency is called after the grout is already placed, the superintendent has lost the clean opportunity to obtain the required field sample from that placement. The source-backed lesson is to connect the inspection and testing schedule directly to the production schedule. Reinforcing steel introduces a safety boundary that has nothing to do with whether a cap is brightly colored. The question is whether the protection is designed and tested to resist impalement. The research states that exposed protruding reinforcing steel up to 6 feet above grade must be covered. For protection from falls up to 7.5 feet, the cover must meet specific size and performance requirements. A manufactured square cover must provide at least a 4x4-inch surface. A round manufactured cover must have at least a 4.5-inch diameter. The protective system must withstand a 250-pound weight dropped from 10 feet without penetration failure. The reference table puts the numbers together because this is one place where visual comparison helps. 6 feet addresses the protruding rebar condition identified in the source. 7.5 feet addresses the fall height range tied to the protection criteria. 4x4 inches or 4.5 inches addresses the minimum manufactured cover surface. 250 pounds dropped 10 feet addresses the performance test. The central distinction is visibility versus resistance. A small plastic scratch cap may make the end of a bar easier to see and may reduce minor contact injury, but bright color alone does not prove that it can distribute the force of a falling worker. Impalement protection must be treated as an engineered performance requirement, not a decoration placed on the steel. Suppose a scaffold crew will work above a row of vertical reinforcing bars. The bars have small mushroom-shaped caps, but no evidence shows that the caps meet the required impalement criteria. The correct field decision is not to assume that any cap is good enough. The superintendent should stop the exposure and provide a compliant cover or trough system before workers are placed above the hazard. I want the drop test to stay vivid in your memory without turning it into drama. Picture a 250-pound bag falling 10 feet onto one concentrated point. The protection has to spread that force and prevent the reinforcing bar from penetrating. Once you picture the test, the reason a thin visibility cap is not equivalent becomes obvious. All 4 subjects in this lesson point to one management habit. Identify the boundary before production starts. For licensing, the boundary is the contract scope. Is this truly a multi-trade General B project, or is it an isolated specialty contract? For Shotcrete, the boundary is the live placement event. Is the qualified nozzleman ready, and is continuous special inspection present before the work becomes concealed? For Masonry Grout, the boundary is the sampling trigger. Has the testing plan accounted for each mix design, each placement day, and the wall area frequency? For reinforcing steel, the boundary is worker exposure. Does the protective system meet the actual impalement criteria before anyone works above the bars? Notice that none of those questions ask the General B contractor to become the specialty installer. They ask the General B contractor to control sequencing, documentation, license participation, inspection readiness, and safety. A simple field sequence can keep the supervision clean. Define the scope. Verify the license boundary. Read the approved requirements. Schedule the inspector or testing agency. Confirm qualified personnel. Correct the safety exposure. Then authorize production. If one of those gates is missing, starting early can turn a manageable scheduling issue into concealed work, rejected work, or a citable hazard. This connected sequence also explains why specialty concrete supervision touches more than the concrete category. Contract classification belongs to planning and estimating. Continuous inspection belongs to field inspection performance. Grout sampling belongs to quality control. Rebar protection belongs to personnel safety. The General B role is to connect those systems before the crews create irreversible conditions. Here is the final memory frame. For the contract, think trades. A single concrete trade requires the correct specialty boundary, and framing does not count toward the 2 unrelated trades. For Shotcrete, think live observation. Velocity and angle create the consolidation, so continuous special inspection must be in place during placement. For Masonry Grout, think mix, day, area. Each mix design, each placement day, and at least once for every 5,000 square feet of wall area. For protruding rebar, think tested protection. Up to 6 feet above grade, cover the hazard. For the fall protection condition identified in the research, remember 7.5 feet, the minimum cover dimensions, and the 250-pound drop from 10 feet. I created an audio practice quiz specifically for this episode, so you can test these boundaries while the details are still fresh. It is audio-based. The questions are read aloud, and you answer by tapping, which is built for people studying while driving, working, or otherwise on the go. Go to the description below this video. You will see a link that says Pass the CSLB. Tap it. It will take you straight there. Comment below with any questions about the material I covered. Subscribe so I can help you stay on track through every episode until you get your license. I know you are fitting this study time around real work and real responsibilities, and I want each lesson to move you one clear step forward.